Hi everybody, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in to the second video in Plan C, my series of videos about the cancer that I have and the treatment that I'm having. The date is Saturday, 26th of February. It's been 2 days since my first chemotherapy session. I did hope to kind of make my second video the day after I had the chemo. But the effects of the chemotherapy meant that I had to delay it a little bit. Just to go back to my first video, if you've not seen my first video or know a little bit about the journey that I'm going through, please do watch that first video because it sets the context of everything that I'm going to be talking about moving forward. So, having said that, chemotherapy, what was it like? Well, when you tell people that you go through chemotherapy, they have this kind of a vision, and I had that vision too. Like kind of you're put in a hospital bed, you're strapped up to drips, you got needles everywhere, and to some extent that's true, but not not entirely what you think. So let me kind of tell you the setup that I had. I had chemotherapy administered in a private clinic that looks after cancer patients, and I was lucky enough to have my own pod. It's kind of like a circular room, and it has a reclining chair. You don't get a bed. You don't need to lie down. You get a reclining chair, very, very modern reclining chair, has loads of adjustments and things like that. And you get comfortable. And nurses come in, they check for basic things like temperature, blood pressure, and all that kind of good stuff. And the first thing that they do is they put a cannula in your arm. If you don't know what a cannula is, it's just basically an inlet, so they can administer a drip into your arm, so they can put that medication into your body. Now, this is normally they put it in your arm, on the top part of your arm. You might have seen it on TV shows and things like that. And that was the original plan for me. However, it turns out that I've got kind of very thin veins in the palms of my hands, and it took multiple goes to try and find a vein good enough for a cannula. So they tried to look down further down the rest of my arm, near my wrist, and things like that. They couldn't find a vein good enough, or where they thought they found a vein good enough, it wasn't good enough to kind of withdraw blood or take any kind of medication. It's a little worrying in the beginning, especially when you've never had chemo before, and that's your kind of first experience. It is a little unsettling, unnerving. But you've got to trust in the experts, and they've got to know what they're doing. The nurses there, they had a thing whereby if you don't do it successfully twice, then another nurse takes over. It's not one nurse repeating, jabbing me again and again and again, trying to do that, because that would just be stressful. Eventually, I think on the sixth attempt, and the third nurse, there was a doctor that did it actually. They managed to find a vein good enough, so they managed to get it in, and they can start. They started administering the chemotherapy drugs. Let me just put that pin in that there, and go back to the explanation of chemotherapy and what the expectation is for some people who don't know. And this again, speaking from my own experience, before I knew any of this, I thought chemotherapy was something that gets done again and again, day after day, for a period of days. That's not the case. I get a cycle of chemotherapy, or should I say, I've got 6 cycles of chemotherapy, all lasting roughly around about 23 days or 24 days or something like that. However, in that cycle, your chemotherapy is only administered for one of the days. For the rest of that cycle, I'm at home. I'm not in I'm not in hospital, I'm not in the clinic or anything like that. I administered that chemotherapy for 1 day. So on the 24th, I went in, sat on the reclining chair, they put the cannula in. And for that whole day, I was given the chemotherapy drugs. Now, there was a range of drugs, all administered via drip. And normally, chemotherapy isn't something that's administered all day. However, it was for me on that first time. The reason why is you never really know how that chemotherapy is going to react in that body. You don't know how the drugs are going to react in that body. So what they do is when they hook you up to a drip, they administer the drug via machine very, very slowly in low doses and in half-an-hour intervals, just to see what reaction your body has. If there's an adverse reaction, that the nurses are on by, they're on standby just to kind of stop any of that administration and sort out whatever problem you have. But as each half an hour goes by, the dosage increases and increases and increases and increases. And if you've got no reactions, well, hey, it's all good stuff. And that's what happened to me. I had the drugs administered, and while I was being administered, there was a whole load of pills and things like that that I had to take. I won't kind of go into the exact type of medication because I think that might be different for different people. But it's crazy how quickly some of these drugs take effect in your body. There was times whereby I felt drowsy. There's times where I felt alert, and some of these kind of still kind of carry on at the moment. So the chemotherapy session lasted all day on the 24th. And now I've got a whole plethora of drugs to take. Some before breakfast, some while having lunch, some in the evening after food. And so far, what I've noticed taking some of these drugs, so again, like I said, some of these drugs put me to sleep. Well, I say put me to sleep. They make me drowsy. They make me tired. And sometimes I close my eyes and sometimes I drift off to sleep. Other times, after I've had that sleep, I'm super alert. I'm super alert, like I'm super alert now. And so it's just kind of getting used to that rhythm. And how the rhythm at the moment is like, I wake up, I have breakfast, I have the drugs, and I slowly start to get sleepy again. I have a little bit of sleep until I hit around about 12:30, something like that, and all of a sudden I'm awake. I'm refreshed. So I'm ready to do stuff. I have my lunch and I take my next load of medications, and boom, I'm starting to feel a little bit lethargic again. And I need a little bit of rest. But as I'm going by day, that need to go to sleep isn't getting as strong anymore. So I'm staying more alert. So I guess my body is getting used to those drugs, and it's just interesting to see. I feel great. I'm not in any kind of pain, not in any kind of suffering. I got to say, a lot of the drugs that you take, they're to stop the side effects of the chemotherapy drugs. So, there's sickness, there's nausea, headaches, and things like that. Luckily, I haven't felt much of them. I did feel a little bit of nausea yesterday, I believe, but the drugs for the anti-nausea sickness counter that. So all in all, I don't think I'm suffering a lot of the side effects, but it's early days. Yeah, right. It's early days. I'm still in my cycle 1. I'm only 2 days in. Who knows how this will affect me moving forward? I'm all right. I'm okay. Everybody that sees me or speaks to me, they say, I'm doing all right. I'm looking well. They wouldn't tell. But then, like I said, it's early days. None of the hair or anything like that's falling out. And I guess that's to come. Maybe it'll happen this cycle, maybe it'll happen next cycle. Who knows? But I know it's going to happen. So I'm prepared for it. But this is the cycle that I'm doing. For anybody interested, the type of chemotherapy, excuse me, the type of chemotherapy that I'm having, something called RCHOP. And RCHOP is just the acronyms of the medication that I'm taking, but I'm told it's a pretty standard standard course for the type of cancer that I have. And there's so many pills. There's so many pills to take, and I'm so glad that I've got my wife with me on that, because when you go into chemotherapy, you're having this drugs administered. Your mind's not quite with it. They're giving you all this information, they're giving you all these pills to take, and they're giving you this timetable of drugs to take, and it's just a lot to take in. So having a partner, or having a friend, or having somebody that can digest this information, I tell you, it's a lifesaver. My wife, I believe that she should be wearing a cape, because she's a superhero about all of this. She's making sure that I'm taking my meds on time. It just makes me think that, anybody who doesn't have the luxury of having a friend or partner while they go through this, that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough, because there's a lot of information to take in. So I'm really, really grateful for my wife and everything that she's doing for me. I think I'd be a mess without her. I honestly did. But everything's all right. Everything's okay. No complications. I don't, touch wood. Yeah. There are no complications. Things are good. That's as much of an update as I've got for you at the moment. Obviously family worry and things like that, but you just got to reassure them when you see their face, when you have a conversation with them. It kind of reassures them. So I guess communication is the key. I'm all right with that. I can get better with that. But there you have it. Short update, short, sharp, sweet, I guess. I will be back again, talking about various other aspects of chemotherapy, and how kind of it affects other aspects of my life, I guess. But thank you for watching. If you've seen my other videos, you've commented, or you've reached out to me personally, thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm not shy about talking about this. I'm not shy about talking about what I'm going through. I think a lot of people go through their own personal struggles, and I just think there's nothing wrong with people talking about them. It doesn't diminish you in any way. We're all human. We all have our fears, and I just think it's good to talk, especially to people you're close with. So there you have it. I won't ramble anymore. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.